With Avatar's Land Lease Master, executives no longer need to rely on manual processes to effectively control their complex land management environment. We have streamlined the process so that you can achieve increased operational efficiencies and up-to-the-minute knowledge of primary term expiration dates, shut-in, and other vital lease data. Avatar's Land Lease Reporting System provides an extensive array of data elements and multiple sorting capabilities. Let's take a look at the Avatar400 Land Management System. The Avatar400 Land System is a lease-based system. We're going to go directly into our lease management inquiry so that we can see all the options available on the lease. I'm just going to pull up one lease that I have assigned a system lease number identifier to and given it a name that is meaningful to me, as well as a reference, which is typically the state, the county number, the district number, and the number of wells in that county. And then I've also assigned who is the lessor. Now, within each lease, there are 16 screens that I can have information on, and we will go through those screens. But I did want to identify we have lessor name, general lease information, acquisition information, delay rental information, lessor successors, accounting receipts, delay rental payments, property descriptions, shut-ins, Pew Hubbard pooling clause, drilling and force majeure, acreage control, contractual obligations, action request, general lease provisions, and special lease provisions. So let's go right into the general lease information. The lessor name. This is exactly what you would expect to input first on the lease. It has the lease date, the effective date, the expiration date, the lease term, the held to date, and the century that this lease was executed in, which is the 21st century. We identify it's a paid up lease. We give it recording information, the date, yearbook, and page, and the county that it's in, and who the original lessee was. We can also identify if the lease is expired, been surrendered, or sold, and the dates applicable to each of those. You can have extended description too if you need more room for your name information. To go to the next screen, we simply shift and F2 to go to the next screen so that we can roll through these 16 options instead of getting out and going to different tabs as is done in some systems. But here's where we can identify what country it's in. These are user-defined hierarchies. And we've identified this is in New Mexico, Lake County. We've given a section, township, and range. A district, this is the Bernard district in El Campo Prospect. And we've given the report acres, the gross acres, the developed acres, and the net developed acres, and identified this is a federal lease. And once again, this is not expired, sold, or surrendered. You can have more than one tract per lease. This would be identified here if you had a sequence 2, 3, or 4. But in this example, there is one record. So we'll shift in F2 and go to the next screen. And this is where you tell it the acquisition information. You can tell it what unit it's tied to, which sequence, tract, and zone within that unit. You can give it a legal description here. You can tie it to a lessor, the acquisition date. You can input the royalty burdens for oil and gas and the override for oil and gas. You can tell which product it's applicable to, if there's a mineral interest, the surface acres, and it will actually calculate your company's net decimal after you input the company working decimal. You tell it what type of interest this is, if there's bonus information, the company's share of the bonus, if the acreage is held by production, and if there's any overriding royalty remarks that you would like to input. Well, once again, shift in F2 to go to our next screen. And that takes us to the delay rental information. This is what will help generate your rental payments or your obligation payments. In this category, on this lease, I've said there's 12 months delay rental. The next payment is due March of 10. It's to be paid 0 days prior to the effective date or the due date. There's no rental reduction clause. There's no escalation clause. Avatar Systems is responsible for that payment. And I have told it it's $1 per acre. There's 160 acres, so that is the amount that we would pay, and we would be paying this to RCS Inc. If there's a bank charge, those can be input here as well. This is all you will need to run your land checks. To go to the next screen, this is where you would input successors. If someone had happened to an owner that you were paying and you wanted to pay an additional owner, you could come in here and say, we're going to pay owner number 3 100% of who we're paying. We're going to print them a check and the rental amount will be $160. We're going to pay owner number 2. I'm not going to insert bank account information. I'm just going to press F6 and it will pull the new owner's information in for us, so that we're now going to pay XTO Energy. To go to the next screen, you shift in F2 and we will roll forward, and now you can see how this will book in the general ledger. This company has elected to have their entries after they write checks post to the general ledger for them. So this would go into the accounting system as a lease, and it would be joint interest billed out to Unit 5100. We're having it go to the account that is set up on the control record as an expense account. Obviously, the land and the accounting department would work together to identify what those accounts are by payment type. We don't have any payment history on this lease, so we're going to roll forward to the property description. This property description is actually what would print on your land checks. And so we see our legal description that we're going to pay an annual rental, and it's dated this date, and this is the lease number. This is just information for whomever is receiving that check to know what that payment is for. To go to our next screen, we'll shift in F2 and we are at shut-in payments. There's obviously several questions here regarding the shut-in payments. These fields can be used as you deem necessary. The next screen is our Pew Hubbard pooling clauses. Once again, you would read through the lease and enter the information that is pertinent to your company. Then we are to drilling force majeure. Once again, you would read your lease, input the data that is pertinent to your company that you would like to see on your reports, and we'll roll forward to an acreage control. This says this 160 acres is all allocated to Unit 5100. Throughout the system, you can set up how many acres are in a unit, and it will keep a total that you have input all the leases for that unit. This is a contractual obligation screen, just so that we know we have a joint operating agreement. If we wanted to input the owners and the decimals in that, we could. There's an action request record. Now this record actually drives that delay rental. It is created when you begin running your land checks, and it actually says, okay, in December of 10, RI actually went out and generated that we need to make a payment on this lease. So now all we have to do is take the option to run checks. You can set up recurring entries that are not delay rentals, where you need to make payments annually. Say you've got to make minimum royalties or something like that, you can set those up here manually as recurring. There's a general lease provision. You have up to 999 lines. You can put anything as general as you desire. And there is also a special lease provision screen that you can go in and also input information there. So that is actually all the input on the lease. Now we'll actually go out and print an exploration report. That seems to be the most important piece of the land system, is that your management team needs to know when a payment is due or a lease is expiring. So on our special reports menu, we actually have an expiring lease report. So let's actually run that. So we'll go in and say for Company 3, you can run this by district or prospect. If you would like to do some drill downs, you have the opportunity to do it by only anniversary month, only anniversary year. But I'll tell you, I want to run everything for 2010 and 2011, just to be safe, so that I am sure all my leases are taken care of. You can tell it to include held by production leases. I'm going to. Do you want to print a release? And it says only an edit run. And so I'm going to press enter twice, and when we do, this report will be generated. It's a very quick, concise report that shows you the examples of what is due for payment. So to review this report, it actually shows you the lease, the name of the lease, who the lessee is, what the due date is, what the expiration date is, what the gross acres are, and what your obligations are, and then someone can make the decision to renew, farm out, or drop this lease. There are several other reports within the system. We've got lease reports, we've got accounts where we generate your land checks, we do land 1099 information. It's a very robust system that will take care of all your land needs. Avatar's Land Lease Master puts the power to manage complex land data at your fingertips. Gain control of your business with up-to-the-minute information with Avatar Systems. Contact us today.